So today what we're doing is doing a quick tutorial on how to lay out shakes on a house if you have a step down. So when you have a straight shot, you'll do a starter row of just a full-size shake. But when you have a step down involved, you have to take into consideration that the shake goes from a very thick end down to a very paper thin end. So if you have a step down, you have to allow for the thickness of the shake to be compensated so that when you have your straight line coming across from the step down, everything lines up. So I'll show you what I mean by that. Maybe I can make sense of this for you doing it this way. So your lowest point would have a full shake, and then your next step up, you would cut the bottom, whatever your step up is. If your reveal is 4 inches, you would cut the bottom 4 inches off of the shake. And then on your next bump up, you would cut this very same amount. You would cut whatever your reveal is off the bottom of the shake so that the thickness on the very top of the row ends up being the same. Then when you do your next row, you would have, this would be your starter strip. This would be your next layer, okay? So then on this particular row, this would be your next layer so that the top is still the same. All right, I don't have another one that size, but then this one would be your next layer there. And then when you do your next row on the bottom, the lowest point, you would be whatever your reveal is, okay, as you come to that trim board. And the next one would be, you would cut off whatever you needed to so that that reveal, actually you wouldn't need to cut that one either, okay? But because you've cut the bottom ones off, the thickness ends up being the same for these two. And then when you get to this one here, would actually be the same. This one, whatever gets it so that it lines up with those on the very top, so that at the end you're not sticking up over your base trim board so you don't have a water problem, but yet you have all of your reveals so that these line up as you do each bump out. I hope that makes more sense. So right here we have a one step down. It goes down 4 inches. And then I did another step down here, which is an additional 4 inches. So in order for, and we have a 5-inch reveal, so the step downs should have been 5 inches, I think. But because they're already on there, what we did was we did a 5-inch reveal. So you'll see that the first step has a 1-inch lip because of that 5 inches instead of 4. So what we ended up doing, if you look down the whole length, what you have to do is you have to start at your lowest point, which is down here, okay, and visualize where the top of the shake will be. So if you were to take your shake, okay, and place it on the wall, okay, and you just place it on the wall, by the time you get to here, you're going to be up here, okay? So then this starter strip would be cut at 5 inches so that when you start up here, you have a narrower piece as your starter strip, all right? So what you're going to be doing is figuring out that you need to do that twice so that down here, when you get to this next cut piece, you actually are taking off 10 inches. So if you took 10 inches off the bottom of this shake and you only had the very skinniest piece, that would be your starter strip up here at the end. So you would have literally a little piece like this as your first starter, okay? And then when you get to the step down, it would go to about a 10-inch piece, depending on your reveal and depending on your step down. And then when you get to the next step down, your piece would be 5 inches longer. But your entire first row will end up being one whole reveal. So you'll only have, the tops of the shakes would all be the same, but the bottom of the shakes would be different. So instead of thinking about it in terms of, let me do it from this direction. So instead of thinking about it in terms of just the start, like on this side of the house, we would literally have our starter strip just be one full piece. All right, you would just stick one full piece and you would just go down the whole length of the house that way. But because we have the step down, you have to make measurements and you have to change the thickness so that you're not too proud over the base and that you don't end up with a water problem. So you have to anticipate that the depth of the shake changes. So your first piece would actually, on this first step down, would be very, very thin, okay? But when visualize that when the whole first row is on, the top will be the same all the way down. So the top of the row will look the same all the way down, but the bottom will be what's different. That's what's a little bit tricky when you have a step down. I hope that makes sense. By the way, doing any kind of shakes over vinyl siding is definitely the way to go. It's more labor intensive. It's a slower process. It takes a long time. You just have to be really patient. And I would pre-stain or pre-paint your shakes. You can hand dip them. A clothesline works best. You can hang them up. It probably takes you about 2 hours for each bundle. So if you figure out on the math what that's going to take you as far as painting them. But then when you put them up on the building, they're all done.